Okay, we got 32 minutes 22 seconds on this one. So, with everything going on these days, this is gonna be fun. With Greenland, China taking Taiwan apparently in the next months, of course, Iran, Venezuela. It seems like the world is burning because there are so many variables at play that, yeah, you just say, okay, we're just gonna watch. But the fact about spatial reality is that the space arranges itself around the masses. And I don't mean masses as in number of people, but around matter, around mass, around material. And there's this joke that if you redistributed all of the wealth in the world, it's not gonna be long time after it ends up where it was distributed from, because the analogy is simple, that there is a planet, yes, and there are 8 billion people on this planet, and by some metrics these people are gonna be placed in this planet. And brother, this flu is not gonna let go of me, but yeah. And the hierarchy of ranking people is inevitable, because that's literally not an ideological kind of claim, but a physical reality of the masses and how matter functions. You go in a room, someone needs to stay near the entrance, someone has to stay further from the entrance. That's the reality of the space. So, with everything going on these days, we have a lot of pieces moving on the board. On one hand, Europe, which outsourced its energy to Russia, and basically the East and its military prowess to NATO, or basically United States, is now thinking, okay, oopsie, we have to defend ourselves, and they're forming EU Inc., which, funny enough, I predicted in my 2 years ago in my thesis. And the world has a very funny way of keeping up with geniuses, because it's like I never thought so many things that I thought absolutely obvious being proven every single day as discoveries, which literally baffles me, but yeah. And other than that, is that we're moving towards a world that not only has so many words in it: meritocracy, theocracy, credentialism, communism, all of these words that are circulating around, that people are calling, okay, if AI is gonna condense the wealth of the world within the pockets of 50 people, or as Musk says, that there are not gonna be any money necessary or whatever, the problem is not money. The problem is human nature for actual um, continued evaluation against other people. The problem with human nature is two things. One, who is better than the other, and two, what is the metrics of measurement. And throughout history, all I see is that one single metric measures everyone. And the thing about one metric measuring everyone is that it's gamifiable and it's very, very easy to gamify. For instance, for now, the kind of hierarchy of people is transitioning between money to attention, and social media uh, kind of attraction of the masses and the mediocrity of the masses is trumping, I guess, pun intended, over the last generation's credentialism that everyone who was kind of someone by some established system, whatever, um, would be at the top of the food chain. But now we're moving towards an immense amount of daily exposure to 8 billion people's lives. That's I've talked about this a long with for a long time with my friends, lawyers, policymakers, bestsellers, philosophers, and everyone. But without going into 40 minutes video, um, the thing is that all of the problems comes to actually making a one metric system. Even now with I was listening to a couple of analysis on Iran's situation, that this coincidence of or coinciding economical and religious uprising has never been repeated in history, because uprisings are either economical or kind of religious. And what's Jesus, what's happening is that we're entering a world that one metric of measurements is not working anymore. Um, that countries are not just, for instance, now countries are functioning based on siloed sovereignty. And what it means is that you literally have this hierarchy of birthplaces. And based on that, your difficulty of living, yeah, I'm Iranian, I know how important your passport is kind of measured by your belonging to a kind of piece of dirt. And what this means is that you easily can game the system, and that has consequences. For instance, the France, because the African kind of regions were invaded by France um, when there was a slavery or whatever. Every African child has literally the Duolingo of France and integrates France immediately. There was like in 5 or 6 years ago, there was a petition signed by French students to make people who come from Africa or whatever pay tuition fee, not because they have B2 French, which they didn't even hustle for. They were literally oppressed with the language in their generation. And this has made Europe quite unstable. That you can hack the one metric of what I call one metric monarchy of a system, because it's just less variables to game. Or notoriously, you literally go to another country, you have a girlfriend, boyfriend there, and your full visa situation is solved. And this makes consequences that are out of actual control. And what I've been obsessed with these past few years is that why all of these systems in human history, maybe that is because of AI that actually enables measurement of that, but why all of the systems in history have been one dimensional? Sure, there is that you can sell it to people easier that, okay, we're gonna be a God driven country rather than, or we're gonna be democratic, um, we're gonna hire people based on meritocracy or aristocracy, bureaucracy, all of this. All of these are systems of mass coordination. And as I see things, if I can see things, um, is that we're moving towards a society that everything is so exposed that you have to invent a game that the cheater is also evaluated by the game. And what that means is that you need to evaluate everything and you need to take into consideration everything. And what I call it is totalitarian meritocracy. Your university degree doesn't matter. Um, your experience doesn't matter. Every aspect misses something. Imagine there is this job that you're competing with a 50 years old with 20 years of experience, that by experience alone is gonna actually get the job, and you're 20 years old and they want 10 years of experience because the job demands. Sure, there are some subcategorization, junior, mid, and like senior level, but the thing is that even that is not solving any problem, because when I go to LinkedIn job and literally says traineeship, junior, whatever, I still see 30% of the applicants are senior level. It's literally traineeship junior. And what it means is that you optimize for ATS. The ATS screens you, and 90% of people are actually disqualified other than the ATS gamers. Then, from those gamers, people with more charisma or more actual self awareness about what the recruiter's cultural fit is gonna look like, they charm their way to the ranks and they get the position. And what this means is that every system in history can be gamified. Even the blood thing, that uh, you literally can fake blood sample or whatever that has happened, especially with the current kind of um, technology. But what actually bothers me is that no one has ever thought of a multi metrics measurement of worth. because sure, it's gonna be totalitarian, but any totalitarian kind of system breaks, let's say 1984 style, because still some people hide. But if you literally have a system, why do people hide, and why do people want to have an upper hand? Because they want to game the system to use it. And if you design a system that actually rewards the cheater, no one actually retroactively is gonna be caught cheating the system, because the concept of cheating doesn't exist. And what it means practically, and rather than philosophy land, is that you monitor everything about everyone. If someone is born in this kind of situation, you measure that through AI. And when you literally continue, um, my eye is kind of itching, but yeah, there are something you cannot change, birthplace, whatever. But there are something you can change, and you get allocated measurement and points for each of the categories, both static and dynamic. And then what happens is that, don't worry, I'm literally building the whole full system rather than in YouTube videos with philosophers, policymakers, and whatever. But the 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 thing that's gonna happen is that instead of gaming one metrics, which is okay, credential, ATS, or kissing someone's ass or whatever, you need to strategically and systematically replicate a totality of different identity in order to game the system. And this system um, rewards your perseverance by points, your IQ, your body physics, everything about a human being. And there's a kind of diagram of identity curve that everyone has yearly, annual, and cumulative kind of identity score, as literally I call it CV, like corpus vitae rather than curriculum vitae, which is your body of work, and you're competing for. Everyone is free to compete, because if you lack in cognitive ability, you can outwork everyone, and this system is going to be guaranteed rather than hustle porn. If you are actually not kind of that, and you have better physique, you're gonna get the physique point. There's not gonna be a Superman who's gonna be inherited, who's gonna inherit everything. Even in this system, because you are born wealthy or in the right kind of family conditions, your identity curve is gonna be skewed, and you're gonna get less point because of the comfort of your actual beginning. So what this does is that those people who are actually gonna be able to game the system, as and yes, you cannot just say, okay, we hire people to control the controlling metrics. That the system is gonna be more, it is more sophisticated than that. So you need to just, given the fact that okay, you cannot control the measuring system itself, you need to, because even now you're not changing the measuring system, you're changing the variables that the system demands. So that has never happened. You change the system itself to game the system. That doesn't make any sense. So you need to control the variables. You not only need to fake physical capability of a person, their place of birth, their cognitive capability, their persistence, their perseverance, their like I've already mapped about 20 metrics. Seven of them are static, like birthplace, condition of birth, the like physical condition at birth, and whatever. You literally need to build a total different 20 metrics identity that some of them are actually kind of eating at each other, because if you have a muscle power and you are in a wealthy kind of environment, you're gonna be redacted the point of wealthy environment because you have a skewed curve if and a better situation to get education, get whatever. So the system is gonna be intentionally intentionally um, kind of paradoxical, because you cannot max out all of the metrics. And this is intentional because there's not going to be a perfect human being, because it's literally paradoxical to everyone's actual reality. And what this does is that it pushes people towards their actual identity, or their actual passion. That I have another kind of system that explains how do you even use the system. This is a very, as Trump would say, beautiful system, but you need to implement this. And as my literally daily life every single day is, I talk to policymakers on global scale and philosophers on theories of things, and I literally implement it on the micro scale of actual business enablement. So this is literally macro to micro coherency. So what happens is that if someone games two or three metrics of that, they need to understand, okay, which metrics I can actually game that makes sense. And that requires not only systems thinking, but also kind of cognitive capability to understand the coherence of that. And you cannot actually outsource that, because it's literally identical to you and your specific sets of circumstances. And what that happens is that the game itself measures that, because if you're gonna be that sophisticated to game the system itself, it adds one of the points of the game itself, which is your strategic thinking and cognitive capability, for instance, and your perseverance and persistence, because you're just a fucking pest to the system. So the system itself rewards the actual cheating aspect of the game, because you can never stop cheating. So it's better that you build it into the system, and you do it two ways. One is that you welcome the cheater, you don't punish the cheater, and you facilitate it, but you control the cheating. And the second one is that every single thing that has failed in history, there's a book that the tyranny of democracy or whatever, that democracy is literally skewed towards the mass majority that you can literally manipulate, because the mass majority, based on a statistical reality of actual cognitive curveball, is that they are not gonna be the sharpest people in the room, because sharpness is literally condensed kind of culmination of the masses. A knife is sharp because it's not wide. That's literally how physics work. So the problem with democracy is that you can find the one or two metrics that you can game the mass majority, because everyone follows that. And the problem is that you have incompetent people in charge that know how to game the system with one or two metrics. But when you literally have everyone is gonna be literally scored with everything, you cannot game the system. Sure, it's gonna be totalitarian, but it already is totalitarian, with the hustle porn, with the whatever positivity, culture, and all of that, but there is no guarantee because you can literally, um, let's say, you can literally do. There is actually a cultural accepted reality that you're gonna die a genius because you're ahead of your time, and no one finds that actually odd and weird because it's celebrated to oblivion as and back that it's literally a kind of mental martyrdom that you literally say the world is as it is, as if a genius dies because some random cosmic lightning strikes them. No, it's like two or three people at power. They're so insecure about refinement and kind of innovation, they hold their resources and they let the genius die. And it's just like so saddening to me that the irony of history is just like so delicious, but so bitter as well. That Tesla, the company of representing the kind of richest man alive in these days, is the name of a genius who died broke and literally the epitome of dying broke genius. And in order to change that, you don't need to beg people in power, you just need to make the system so visible and so transparent that everyone is gonna be playing the same game. And it's literally 8 billion uh, league score hierarchy of people, which already is happening because imagine fucking Tesla is not gonna hire people who are not gonna be geniuses by their metrics. But the problem is, what is their metrics? What is their metric? Because they're gonna have HR. HR is gonna have bias towards actual stability, mental stability or whatever. That's literally proven in the common system. So the paradox of the system that are existing is that you want a stable genius, but in history there is no stable genius. Stable is literally actually bending to the reality of the current world. How the fuck you're gonna change the reality of the current world if you're already kind of receptive of it? It's just like the myth of Superman without actually having superpowers. It doesn't exist. And what what happens is that it's already happening. Trump literally says, okay, I have the greatest military power in the world. I have the actual leverage points that I call Macron, Emmanuel, and I say, okay, everything coming to America is gonna have 200% tariff on it, and you're gonna literally suck my dick. And Emmanuel says, how deep? Do I deep throat you? I literally bet the whole situation with IRGC that is gonna happen with Iran. France is one of the countries that actually is not designating IRGC. I'm not gonna be political because politics is a kind of a limited game. I'm literally thinking in generational systems. But for instance, for people in 50 years, I guess, to understand what I'm saying is that France is not designating as of now, as of 28th of January 2026, I guess, is not designating IRGC as a terrorist kind of organization. All of Europe has, and France is not. What's going to happen? The Abraham Lincoln Armada is going to literally reach Iran in 1 or 2 days, if not already there. And Trump is going to call Emmanuel, I'm going to have 200% tariff on everything coming from France, unless you say, okay, IRGC is a terrorist, whatever, and then we're gonna fucking nuke them. That's literally how it's gonna unfold. But yeah, this video is gonna be quite an interesting milk or wine case that we're gonna see how I slowly build the system myself, but also how the world is gonna actually react to the failing one metric system, because this isn't working at all. Because if it was working, um, Europe wouldn't want to have EU Inc. China wouldn't paranoid get paranoid and eventually attack Taiwan. United States wouldn't tariff everything. I literally listened to couple of recent Trump's conferences. He literally said, if without tariffs, United States wouldn't actually exist these days, because that's the understanding of power dynamics and leverage points. Because he understands something that people mostly fail to understand. I'm not literally glorifying this to dawn, but what I'm noticing is that this guy is saying, okay, they say I need to behave like this, and he says, why? I'm the most important, most powerful nation on planet. Why the fuck do I need to follow the rules? There is no rule. There is no rule. And he literally says, other countries are seeing there is no rule, and I'm gonna just be faster. He repeatedly says the Greenland thing, Venezuela thing, if we don't get there, China and Russia are gonna get there. I studied public international law. International law doesn't say you get there without consequences, but we're just seeing there is no consequence other than the power dynamics, and the one metric measurement of anything is not working.